And Top Story is always brought to you by Telecel Connecting Energies, holy insecticide spray and coil. Enjoy a holy sleep. Now, it was an explosive opinion piece on Ghana's dire economic and social circumstance that left politicians across both divides, but mainly from the governing New Patriotic Party, exposed. The former Deputy Finance Minister under the Akufo-Addo's first term, Kweku Kwarteng, declared that his government and those before them have all run the Ghanaian economy like a Ponzi scheme. He warned the party to acknowledge their failures and risk failing to break the eight. I have been speaking to him in an exclusive interview to be aired later tonight, in which he dares the political class, including members of his own political party, to deny that they have indeed run the economy like a Ponzi scheme.
But let me make this point. So what? So, given the way people are talking and on our campaign platforms, it does not look like it comes close to this. So give up and go and sleep. I can't do that. We push this debate.
Are you disappointed in the way your party have run its campaign so far?
I'm disappointed in the way the political class has managed this country since independence. I'm calling on all my colleagues from all shades of the political divide to reflect on the fact that if we do not change course and this country degenerate into a destabilized democracy, our political parties will not exist.
You know the law of unintended consequences. You mean well.
Yes.
But you also admit that what you've altered, considering your standing in the party, is ammunition with 4 months to go to your opponents to use against your party, considering that you were once a former deputy finance minister, a chair of the finance committee. You say economies have been run like a Ponzi scheme. You've talked about the fact that failures have been made, sacrifices, and until now, you admit that the law of unintended consequences exactly places you really in the crosshairs of your own, but also favorably in the eyes of your opponents who will use your words against your party.
I disagree, and let me explain. Let the MPP go out to say, as politicians, we think we have been managing this country wrongly since independence. We think what the people are calling for is legitimate. Accordingly, this is our response to what people feel about us, politicians. We are doing this, we are doing this, we are doing this. And let the opposing political parties come to say, no, politicians, we've done very well. And let's see who Ghanaians will believe. So that which you are calling a weapon is no weapon. In fact, I think it is risky. Some of these things I have put here. It is very risky for any politician to get up and to say it is not true. People are not unhappy with us politicians. People are very happy with the way we have governed this country since independence. People are happy with the kind of economy we've had and all that. Let's see, I would like to debate anybody from the opposition who says these ones is an indictment on us, but as for them, they don't agree. And let's see whose side the Ghanaian will take. Maybe you should start with yourself. If another politician comes and says the things Kwarteng put out, rubbish, we don't agree. As for us, NDC or CPP or whatever, we think the politicians have been acting right and therefore vote for us. And let's see who gets the support of the people.
You were a former deputy minister, but you lost your job after 2021. Yeah. Are you bitter, and that's why you are decided to go public now with these?
No, but if I was going to be bitter, I would have been bitter 3 years and a half ago.
So the question is, why now?
Because
when it hurts the most, with just 4 months on election.
Well, no, I'm just making the point that I have no reason to be hurt, and I have made the point again that I am contributing to a message I think we should carry to the election. I could not have said 3 years and a half ago that when we get to 2024, I think we should be communicating these messages. So why now? That is the point. But look, I don't have any reason to be bitter. I came to Parliament in 2012 and I was put in what many consider to be the prestigious Finance Committee. The following 4 years, we had power. I was put in the Ministry of Finance as a Deputy Minister for Finance. Look, in 2021, when Parliament became depleted of all the finance guys, and you can count, all the finance guys either lost their primaries or the main election, the leaders of my party and government said to me that, Kuku, you need to go and support government's work in Parliament. And then I came here. After 3 years, I was invited again to see, look, we need you to go and support the Ministry of Finance again, this time in even a superior capacity. And I said, look, there are some things we are doing in Parliament to support the same government, so please let me remain here.
So you were given the appointment?
I was given the appointment.
As a Deputy Finance Minister?
No, as a Minister of State at the Ministry of Finance. And
that's an elevation?
That was an elevation. But it wasn't the point. Even if it was deputy, so long as you're there to contribute to the work, it would have been fine. But the reason I declined was that I wanted to concentrate on the support we're giving government from Parliament. And that is why I turned it down. Now, why then will you be bitter about what? If I felt that strongly about being removed from the ministry, as soon as it was suggested to me, I would have grabbed it. I said no. So why will I be bitter? Look, what gives me sleepless nights is to see the way we have been managing our economy and to look into the future, trying to find a path to recovery and start fearing that I might leave Ghana that is worse than it is for my children. That gives me sleepless nights. And that is what is motivating some of the things that I am saying. And I'm only asking my party that it is the concern of many Ghanaians as well. So if we will own it as our mission in the 2024 elections, the majority of Ghanaians will be on our side. I'm daring anybody who is a politician who says they want to get the people's vote to come and dispute the things I have put here. Because these are realities. The fact that we've been managing this country like a Ponzi scheme since independence, the fact that we have turned contests for political power into some competition. You wouldn't think, the way we even compete for power, sometimes you would think we're fighting for our daily bread rather than our survival, rather than the opportunity to improve the system for everybody. I call that bad politics. I referred it to that as primitive political culture. I think we must correct that. And it is what I want to see, even if I don't get it to the extent that my idealistic mind can imagine. At least I want to see a certain movement towards that ideal. And then the people of this country will be happier with us. But I take this opportunity again to remind my colleagues, especially in the NPP, who think this is a weapon for the opposition. If anybody from the opposition picked up anything from here, ask that opposition whether he disagrees or he agrees with the fact that the political class has failed, and let the people pass their verdict. I think the facts are there for all to see. I listen to Joy, I listen to your channels, and I hear politicians this. We can't find even one. The other I listened to what you guys call editorial, and said I was looking for just one good politician, and I couldn't find any. You live in a country where people have this attitude towards politicians. You're going into an election to ask those same people to vote for you. You say you don't want to make that concession.
Is Ulubaten the one good politician in the midst of?
I'm just like, look, I'm just like any other politician. All I am saying is that we have all collectively been doing the wrong things for so long. Let us all change course.
Have you suffered for this though? Because it was just recently your colleagues in the minority told us that they were gunning to remove you as the finance committee chair. True?
Yes, I had those suggestions.
Were you removed as the finance committee chair because of these views you hold?
If I was going to be removed from the finance committee chair because I hold these views, then the suggestion would not have come to me to go and sit in the Ministry of Finance.
But this was recent.
So at the time that suggestion was being made to me, I was a more liberal finance committee, and within a space of about 3 months, I changed, and that is why, look.
Specifically,
People,
they mention
you know,
your opposition to the tax exemptions that came before your committee.
well, it's not just tax exemptions that I had some reservations about.
So you had reservations about that?
Oh, I did. And I have communicated that. There were other referrals that, it is not every referral that you say, I'm opposed to it. Some you say, if we can do these adjustments, or if we can turn it this way, if we can turn it this way. But in respect of the tax waivers, I did make the point that when you isolate specific companies within industries and Parliament grants them tax waivers, you hurt their competitors in the same industry. So if we want to abolish taxes for industries, it should be for everybody.
And by the way, the full interview is on PM Express later tonight. It's from 9 p.m. Also across our many social media platforms. You can see the story is already up on myjoyonline.com on this particular subject. And you want to hear him talk about what this means for the party going into the December 7 elections, but also how come he altered this and where did this originate from? What are his motivations? And he talks in some great detail how this was something that was crafted as part of a party internal review, and somebody shared it and he decided to own up to it. You want to join us at 9 p.m. and hear all the details for yourself. But joining me right now, weighing on this very explosive piece and what we've just had there is Sami Jemfi is the NDC National Communications Officer. From the MPP, Haruna Mohammed is the Deputy General Secretary. Also joining me is Professor Godfred Bokwing as an economist and Professor of Finance at the University of Ghana Business School. Haruna Mohammed, let me start with you. Do you concede from what we heard there from your former Deputy Finance Minister, somebody the President actually thought in his second term to give him another position, elevate him to the position of Minister of State of the Finance Ministry? He says that you, together with other governments before you, have run the economy like a Ponzi scheme. But very specifically, on the subject of the current economic crisis, his verdict is that it is not only because of Ukraine and the pandemic. Quote, it is also because of bad politics and economic mismanagement. You agree?
I don't think what you have just read is a true representation of what he meant. He said the problems are a cumulative effect of many decades of problems spanning different governments. That is as a result of bad politics and economic mismanagement. So many decades is a very key word. He was not specific on the MPP government. He was writing on a general statement. And when it came to the current crisis, what he's talked about, he related it to the cycle of change relative to the 8-year period that people or Ghanaian citizens have always come to stay with. And also touching on the breaking of the aid. He said breaking of the aid is something that is possible. However, our meeting with the hostile external factors has imposed hardship on our chances. So these were the meaty part of what he said, which was not directly that it comes to government.
And you should listen to him when I ask him to focus on the last 7.5 years, because that's when he was part of government. And Sami Jemfi is on. I'll ask him about how this applies to them. But I have you on. The same questions I asked him in that interview to play later tonight. I'm asking you that as far as your 7.5 years is concerned, do you concede that bad politics and economic management has been your bane?
I don't think that for the past 7 years we have had any bad economic management. He himself in his piece has admitted with regards to the external factors that has affected. And if you check the performance of this government from 2017 to 2020, before the global crisis, you would see that the economy of this country was growing up to 8-point-something%. And then you check all the indicators, they were in form. And as at now that we stand, if you check the recovery of the economy as at first quarter of this particular year, you see that the economy had grown about 4.7%. indicators are very clear. Inflation is coming down, interest rates are coming down, the economy is turning the corner, and things are beginning to change. So it is very clear that this government has managed the economy very well to a period that there was economic crisis.
Well,
even in the world, performance stage, countries were recording negatives of growth. But it took us, we grew about 0.5%.
Kwekwe disagrees, and yes, he talks about all governments, including yours, and he says, as far as the economy is concerned, you've all run it like a Ponzi scheme.
You see, where he mentioned the Ponzi scheme, it is relative to how interest rate, how we lend, how we borrow, how we pay back, and how we cut parts of these particular loans that we borrow to pay off and use others to. And this was relative to the governance of all the political parties within the history,
including.
He was very clear. He was very clear.
Yes, that's true. Clear. But and it's including your party, because you are in government now, 7.5 years.
About a particular government.
Yes,
so
but including your government, and you should listen to him when I speak to him. He'll come to the party at 9 p.m. He admits that yes, he's guilty. He doesn't shift blame at all. He says, I've been part of the problem. You were saying, as the Deputy General Secretary of the MPP, that your government having run the economy like a Ponzi scheme, as your former Deputy Finance Secretary.
If you look at the loans that we have come to meet, look at the take or pay. We have gone to revise the interest rate at which payments has been made. And when you read his piece, he tells you that you go and borrow from one and come and use part of the money to pay high interest rates. And our government, in terms of this particular Nana Danko Ekufu's government, has made sure that interest rate, borrowing at high interest rate, has not been a factor at all. We have to renegotiate some of these particular facilities to be able to reduce the payment. So, yes, it is true that he has made that particular statement, but we have been very careful. Remember, he was part of the government earlier on, and he might have made these particular suggestions to government, and some of the loans that were taken by the previous government have been revised so that we will make sure that payment of interest does not affect the principal.
Do I take it that as far as
higher rates at which the government
as far as you're concerned, the Ponzi scheme analogy does not apply to the last 7.5 years?
And the Ponzi scheme does not also apply to the current government.
Well, that's exactly the question I'm asking you, that your position is that doesn't apply to the current government.
Yes, and that is the position of the paper.
Well, his point
is the position of the paper he presented.
No, that's not the position of the paper. His point is that all governments, including your government, have run this as a Ponzi scheme.
So the Ponzi scheme is not related to this government alone. He's
exactly
talking about the running of the economy.
Let me ask you, finally, before I bring in Sambi Jemfi. He says, quote, and this is directly to you and your party. He says, to break the eight, therefore, we, and he's talking about you, the NPP, must first break the norm by doing the following. One, acknowledging the past and present failures. Are you ready to acknowledge the past and present failures?
We have always done that. We have always acknowledged the past failures, and we have always identified the shortfalls in terms of how some of the indicators are being worked out because of external factors. We have always adopted deep and far-reaching reforms to address some of these decades of problems, and that is why the current finance minister has always made sure that monthly he has to address the press to ensure and put out the change in indicators, the policy statements, how the economy is going to be run. We have always made sure that we lead by example, and that is why His Excellency the President cut the expenditure in terms of payment of salaries and payment of emoluments to the president, the vice president. He has also reduced in terms of fuel payments to members of parliament and other CEOs and what have you. He has reduced some of the expenditure cuts. And that is why His Excellency Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia says that when he comes, the capital expenditure that is put on infrastructure will be leaned back to private enterprises to be able to provide hostel facilities, to be able to take up road infrastructure, whereby we would have to give them the incentive to take loans on low interest rates so that they can support government. The money that government would have used to go into some of this building infrastructure will be used to provide other amenities that will support state development.
And also with me is Sami James-Fizi, National Communications Officer of the party. Mr. James-Fizi, so this verdict is a verdict on all governments. And of course, the MPP came into power just after you have left. And that verdict says that you've all run the economy like a Ponzi scheme and that you've been borrowing when you really do not have the means to service it, only to go back and borrow some more. You service the debt and then you use it to pay services that you really do not need because of lack of prioritization. Do you concede your part in what he calls the mess that we currently find ourselves in?
I think that, first of all, it's important to put this matter in the right context. You see, in principle, every government, and for that matter, every country, must live within its means. It's just like a human being. To be productive, you need to live within your means. You cannot be earning, for example, 10,000 cedis a month and be spending 20,000 cedis every month. If you do that, you're going to be incurring a lot of debt, and you will have to borrow to service that debt. And so, in principle, Kweku Kwaten's argument is valid. And that is the argument we in the NDC have been making for a very long time, that this Akufo-Addo Bawumia NPP government must learn to live within its means, and that a reckless expenditure which led to excessive borrowing since 2017 was going to crash our economy. We sounded alarm bells, we advised the government, and they refused to listen. And that is why today we find our economy in the mess, we are all witnessing today. So the principle of this argument is correct, and it is not different at all from what we in the NDC have been saying since 2017. In fact, it is a no-brainer. Every student of economics knows that, and all the economic watchers knew that our economy was going to crash as a result of the reckless spending and excessive borrowing of the Bawumia-led economic management team. The problem with what Honorable Kweku Kwaten has put out is the generalization of his caution or criticism.
It doesn't apply to the NDC's administration?
Everybody in this country knows that what Kweku Kwaten is saying has to do with the current Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. Everybody knows that he's not happy. And he's not been happy with the mismanagement of this economy by his own party for a very long time. It is the reason why he's being sacked as the chairman of the Finance Committee in Parliament, because he was perceived as a stumbling block to the tax exemptions that this government has been trying to push through, and he's been against many of the bad policies that his own party has been taking, which is what has plunged us into the excruciating actions and the mess we find ourselves in. That is commendable on his part. But what is unacceptable is for him to generalize the failings of his own party, his own government.
But Sami James, let me read to you a part of what he says here and see if it didn't apply to you in the lead up to 2016. He says, we always offer higher interest to lenders. Borrow more, use a part to repay previous debts, and the rest to pay for the current year's overspending. That sounds very much like what led us to the IMF program under your watch just before the 2016 elections.
Because if you allow me to answer your questions, I'm sure you will understand what I mean. I'm saying that what Kweku Kwaten is saying is correct, but that applies to the ruling NPP Akufo-Addo Bawumia government. It doesn't apply to the NDC. Under John Mahama in 2016, the budget deficit was 6.1%. Yes, somebody can say 6.1% was a bit high, but 6.1% is something that we can accommodate as a nation. What it means is that expenditure exceeded revenue, but it wasn't, above acceptable limits. The debt to GDP ratio in 2016, when President Mahama was leaving office, was 56%. That is within the acceptable threshold. The And the fact is that Ghana was still servicing its debt in 2015. We have not defaulted, or we did not default on our debt obligations. So you cannot say that all governments are the same. You can't be talking about the political class here. You see, let's call a spade and not a digging tool. If your government has been reckless, be bold to call them out. Don't try and generalize and paint all of us with the same brush. Because President Mahama was able to service the debt of this country during the time that he was vice president and chairman of the economic management team, and during the time that he was president. We did not default on our debt obligations, and we did not record any budget deficit that was reckless. On the contrary,
but you recorded a budget deficit.
This government, government,
but
the
Sameh,
budget deficit.
You recorded a budget deficit nonetheless, and that's his point. Like you are living beyond your means.
But can you run an economy without a deficit? Who runs in this world today? Which African country runs an economy without a deficit?
But you're comparing yourself to blind folks. In the land of the blind, the one-eyed man is kin. That's his point exactly. That we are repeating a cycle.
Deficit. Every middle-income country will run a deficit. Even the advanced first world countries run deficits.
Because you have the economic fundamentals to accommodate that.
Deficit. Evans, you are either going to allow me to answer your questions or you will not allow me to answer your questions. So you take your time. I'm saying that under President Mahama, we did not spend recklessly. The deficit was within acceptable limits, and I've quoted it for you, 6.1% after 2016. Debt to GDP ratio, 56% within acceptable limits. There was nothing wrong with that. It is under this government that in 2018, contrary to the Fiscal Responsibility Act that they themselves passed, and committed not to run a deficit of more than 5%. In 2018, if you look at the documents they submitted to the IMF in 2020 for the rapid credit facility of $1 billion, they concede that they recorded a budget deficit of 7.1% in 2018. That was before COVID. And that in 2019, they recorded a budget deficit of 7.5%. That was before COVID. So even before COVID, they were spending recklessly. And debt to GDP had increased from 56% to 64% in 2019, even before COVID. Now, this economic recklessness, supervised by Bawumia, reached a crescendo in 2020 when COVID struck, where we saw this reckless government using the pandemic as a pretext to engage in reckless, corrupt, election-related expenses. That is why in 2020 we recorded an unprecedented budget deficit of 15.7%, the highest in the sub-region. No government in the history of Ghana has recorded a budget deficit of 15.7% if we are talking about today's GDP terms.
Mr. Jamefi, thank you very much. And that day is Sameh Jamefi, the National Communications Officer of the NDC. You had earlier Haruna Mohammed, who is the Deputy Secretary of the MPP. And I have with me Professor Godfrey Bokping, who has been listening in very closely on this and pretty sure he's read that piece by the former Deputy Finance Minister, Kweku Kwarteng. Hello, Mr. Bokping.
Yes, good evening, Ivan.
Great,
and good evening to our cherished listeners.
Yes, indeed. And I know you just dying to have a bite of this. So stay with me. This is something you've been talking about on my shows quite a bit. Now you're having a politician say it too. So please stay with me. You want to really join us with your thoughts on this matter. Also here on News Night, which starts right now.
Good evening and welcome to News Night. Tonight, Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority serves notice of opening full-scale investigations into conduct of officers captured on tape taking as low as 20 cedis to allow smuggled goods into the country in latest Joy News investigative piece, Porous Borders.
And I mean full investigation. Interestingly, this is where I spent all my years in. So it's not going to be a doubt. I have some know-how, let me say it for now, that if people are wrong, indeed, they will be dealt with.
We have details as Minority on Trades Committee demands detailed and transparent investigations to ensure those found culpable are punished.
We are all now ready to take bribe because when you take bribe, nothing gets done. In this particular case, our expectation is that there will be thorough investigation and that the culprits will be dealt with and dealt with very, very well.
Also tonight, Chief of Defence Staff Lieutenant General Thomas Opompepra questioned about disparities in some of the claims in the Armed Forces communication concerning Richard Jakpa's release from the force.
I suggest to you that the reasons stated by the Honourable Minister of Defence in Exhibit BF1 as the grounds for the release of A3 are not totally accurate.
In business, total value of mobile money transactions crossed 1 trillion Ghana cedis for half year, representing a significant surge for what was posted for last year.
And in sports, the Ghana Football Association unveils fixtures for next season's Ghana Premier League, with Hearts and Kotoko slated to face off in December.
And in our Thirsty Community series tonight, we'll take you to Mampong Scarps in the Ashanti region, where school pupils have to walk miles before accessing water. And Speaker of Parliament Alban Bagbin issues an apology on behalf of Parliament over botched speed limit and siren LI.
Public's perception of insensitivity, and I'm here to offer an apology and assure the Ghanaian people that this Parliament remains acutely aware of and responsive to their needs.
Details of that and more here on Newsnight. You want to join us with your thoughts, your comment is via WhatsApp 055-11-11997. Heading back to Kweku Kwating.
Yes, indeed. And that is a story that has taken the internet by storm. He was trending all the weekend because of what he says in this piece about Ghana's politics. And his verdict is that all governments until now failed in terms of the way they've managed the economy. He says they've managed the economy badly. It's been down to bad politics and economic mismanagement. He talks about the running the economy like a Ponzi scheme. Tonight we've been hearing from the two main political parties, the MPP and the NDC, but also with us a Professor Godfrey Bokping. He's an economist and professor of finance at the University of Ghana Business School. Prof, now you've not heard the two main parties on Kweku Kwating's piece. First of all, give me your reaction to what you just heard there.
Well, thank you very much, Evans, and good evening to our cherished listeners. Well, for me, it's not surprising. I identify with a lot of the things that the Honourable MP has said. We have said this time and again, but I just want to add that there's nothing typically wrong with borrowing as a country, right? And governments all over the world, they do borrow. They run budget deficit. Yes, so and there's nothing typically wrong with also borrowing to retire maturing debt. We call it rollover. Governments do that all over the world. I mean, typically governments actually don't pay down their debt. They roll it over. Sometimes they run into rollover risk where they take more expensive debt to retire maturing debt. I think that's where Honorable Kweku Kwating was coming from, and I think that is characteristic of all the regimes that we have seen. Except that you see a little bit of, in terms of magnitude, this government has taken it to a different level, a higher level. But there is no government under the Fourth Republic that can say is holy. It's without any offense in this particular. There is none holy. No, not one. Look, Evans, let me give you some data so that perhaps it will help the two main political parties, how they approach the election, and also whoever wins, how they form the next government. In 2012, Ghana's fiscal deficit was more than 12%. 2012. The current account deficit was also double digit. Evans, what took Ghana to the 16th IMF-supported program that kicked in from April 3rd, 2015 to April 2019 has to do with these twin deficits. It's back to that. In fact, Ghana officially entered the high-risk debt distress category in 2014. Ghana made a call to the IMF, I think on August 6, 2014, for the program that kicked in April 3rd, debt issues, fiscal deficit. And let me tell you something. Ghana could not recover from the election excesses of 2012. Check the records. It was also as a result of the election excesses of 2012, together with the current account deficit, this twin deficit, with some external development and coupled with the intensity of the energy crisis from 2012 to 2015, that resulted in the government making the distress call to the IMF on August 6, 2014. Evans, when we exited the IMF-supported program in April 2019, Ghana did not exit the zone of high-risk debt distress country, and the NPP government from the latter part of 2019 only made it worse by eventually confirming the country in a debt distress category.
So you agree? So you agree then that we've run the economy like a Ponzi scheme, as he put it?
I mean, it's as simple as that, except that it's more typical to see that in a private sector setting. But Evans, this is how we have lived our lives. It got to a point, in fact, in terms of the marginality, you will see it more under the current administration. And that I think that is where Kweku Kwate is coming from. Look, every serious person in the MPP should be humble enough to say to Ghanaians, we are sorry, because they are capable. In fact, look, they represented the hope of Ghana's democracy from 2016. For God's sake, that is the point that we are making.
Well, Kweku Kwate actually makes that same point, that they should acknowledge the past and present failures.
Precisely. Look, the resources that this current government presided over, in terms of tax revenue from oil, together with the level of borrowing, Evans, this government should tell Ghanaians we are sorry.
And very quickly, how much difference does it make that this is coming from a former deputy finance minister, somebody that in the last 3 years, after the first term, the second term of Kufuor, he was actually offered Minister of State of the Finance Ministry? How much of a difference does it make, the fact that it comes from him?
Well, my considered view is that this has come a little late, but better late than never. I believe that in all our lives, there are developments that causes us to probably to change course and all of that. I think we should look at the positive side of what he has said rather than looking at probably what has happened and all of that. And then also let's subject what he has said within the reality and see what we can pick from that. Because whether we like it or not, there are quite a number of things that he has spoken about that I don't think that any serious person in this country can disagree.
And I'm grateful. I'm grateful, Prof. Thank you very much for joining us on this. And I want to hear from you. You've read that article. I've seen it trend over the weekend, 055-111-1997. And this, by the way, is full interviews on PM Express later tonight. Is from 9 to 10 p.m. And it's going to be across our many social media platforms also. And you've been asking him if he's a bitter man, and he says he's not. No, he says he's not. He says he was offered a Minister of State position, and he turned it down in the second term. And so how can he be bitter? I bet you asked him if the NPP will be able to break the 8, if he's confident they will be able to do so. Don't give me the answer. And that he provided an answer too. You want to join us at 9 for that? Yeah, and that will be also available on all our social media platforms. Now, Customs Division of the Ghana Revenue Authority says it will commence a full-scale investigations into the conduct of officers captured on tape taking bribes to allow smuggled goods into the country. The revelation is contained in the latest Joy News investigative piece, Porous Borders, where some customs officials take as low as 20 cedis to allow traders smuggle goods into Ghana from neighboring countries. We'll get to hear from the Commissioner of Customs shortly, but here are excerpts of the documentary.
Look at that. So you go back there. No, but we passed there. We passed there, they didn't even stop at the end. Then it's double punishment. Then this one, the board times it by 2. You times it by 2 for 15 Dabala. Oh, that means no, I don't go buy for you.
We have driven through several checkpoints with these goods without tax stamp from Aplau through to Dabala to Segakope without being flagged. Our movement through these checkpoints was smooth until the customs officials in her mid-30s flagged us to stop at the Sugakope checkpoint. The investigative team assumed this customs official who stopped us was to inspect these goods would get us to pay taxes on the assorted drinks. But we were in for a shocker. She demanded the team pay a bribe of 400 cedis. She allowed us to pay 200 cedis after some minutes of negotiations.
Back to the Bala, we pay the city, you go your way. No, please. You pay something small to the government.
How much?
Because how much? That's 400.
This was no different at Ghana's border in Western Region, Elubo. Many bags of rice are bought through the border posts and are allowed to pass without paying the right taxes. Some of these traders who bring rice from the Ivory Coast have become familiar with customs officials demanding bribes from them and allowing them to go with their booty. Despite its toll on their profits, they prefer dealing in such transactions to pay the right duties. They claim they are not issued with invoices or receipts to cover these payments they make to unscrupulous customs officials.
Custom for instance, blankasa.
So ka so mo jeje mo nsem muska sen na ye omo jeje yemfa se bia wato nema 2000 sen na ye bejeje ma omfa so nyina ate efri usikedua ne so.
Yes say nyama no mo se yenye duty na ebeye no ebo mbeje no esen bia duty no wakofa mo boto baako o se 20 cedis and 30 cedis na say na me make say emo makoto me fa so ina ye 20 cedis bia 30 cedis no waji mu se 30 cedis na say na me meton na tumi akontem ama matumi abefa fofo
no omojiska we omoma receipt.
Oh, receipt in kan say ene ye ntumi ye duty no sunti ne sa no mbe ye no ye ntumi ye duty nti sa no ye nje receipt ina duty no so no a ye mo ye no media ne de me ko mam bi no omo anturo bi anguso hwe ni so krata ne keke ina ye de maame no de pen na ma keke no de maame tese metu awi
receipt no say ye ko hye ho inside ho na so omo jiska na no omo akre omo atwro paper bi de amaye ye kwa ye hu paper anso still ye du ba ye ho no a omo ji jiska omo ji jiska nti ni se ni ska no beje no ye kwa ye de nyema no be ko fie no na driver no say zika no omo atua na ye ne ntua egu ye de no so ne ye atua nti ye ton ye nya hwe ebrehu ne ye bre.
Drivers who cart these goods to the marketing centers are not spared when transporting these bags of rice. According to this driver, who gave his name as Kweku, the officials demand nothing less than 350 cedis to allow them to transport smuggled bags of rice to Takrady or Takwa.
It's like you are moving rice from here to whether Takwa or Takrady. It depends on the car you are using. Maybe you use a car to say you are using a car like Opel Zafira. You normally call it 2 seats here. From here to Takrady, and if you loaded let's say a bun of rice, first barrier, let's say it's called Samia barrier. They're going to take you 350 cedis at Samia barrier, and from Samia barrier to the next barrier you meet on the road is called 32. We normally call it 32. That place you are going to pay another 350 cedis. Yeah, that's what's like we normally pay to the customs on the road when going to Takrady or let's say Takwa.
And how does it affect your profit?
To that extent, like I would say, let's say you floated a rice of let's say 30 and you are sending it to, let's say, Takwa or Takrady, we take 20 cedi per one, like each. We take 20 cedi each. And you are paying whether 350, let's say the two custom barriers making 700, and you are paying 700 to the, let's say, the custom people. How much are you going to gain? And even if not, like, deducted your fuel money from it, how much are you going to gain?
I have succeeded in meeting one of the smuggling kingpins in Elubo, who identified himself as Error. For every box of rice he brings from Ivory Coast to Ghana, he charges 20 cedis. It is this amount he pays off to customs officials he works with to facilitate his business. If he can transport 500 bags of rice to Elubo, he will earn 10,000 cedis.
Me charge best, and back 20 cities. You ever say be back 300, number 320. In the meantime, ne dear, me share 500 bags. It's me drew and my cha. The customs one and see a very more than. I know the I know about 20 cedis in man, maybe 20 cedis. I didn't know problem.
The investigative team decided to test these claims made by the traders and commercial drivers. We bought several boxes of rice from neighboring La Côte d'Ivoire. At the Elubo border post, this customs official, who was identified as Kujo, allowed our boxes of rice bought from La Côte d'Ivoire into Ghana. We did not pay the statutory taxes. When the team got to the customs checkpoint at Samir, our vehicle was inspected by two customs officials. They asked me to follow them to their office. They demanded I paid a bribe of 20 cedis and left me to go with the boxes of rice.
So I'm going to use to celebrate small X-Man. What do you have? Rice. How many? 3. And you alone are going to use it. I'll just down to my pasta. And then other people. It's a small. We are in the festive. The driver should know better. Informs you the nitty-gritty. I'll dash you one and pay for the 2. The 2, how much will I pay? 20. Thank you very much. Here's a book for me to read. Hey, thank you very much. My number is I thought you were coming to give me receipt. Oh. But the receipt when we pay the duty. The duty is
And these are excerpts of Hotline documentary, that investigative piece put together by my colleague Kwete Nate. It will be aired live on the Joy News channel at 8:30 p.m. tonight, also on all our social media platforms. But guess what, Evans? This issue came up big time today at the Public Accounts Committee, and thankfully James Aveji has just returned from Parliament, joins us in studios. So let's talk about how exactly this issue came up.
Yeah, so a member on the committee raised this as a public interest question and want to know what the GRA will be doing about it. And thankfully, the Commissioner of Customs in charge of domestic revenue was there and attempted an answer. He said that this is something the authority is ready to look into, investigate fully, and if any officer is culpable, they would apply all the sanctions that must be given.
I've seen the video, just a synopsis of the video. I want to see the complete video. Indeed, if based on the face value of what we see, full investigation will be conducted, and I mean full investigation. Interestingly, this is where I spent all my years in, so it's not going to be a doubt. I have some know-how, let me say it for now, that if people are wrong, indeed, they will be dealt with. But I have not seen the video completely. I just saw just a synopsis. And that, normally when you are doing a documentary coverage, and you don't do it very well, the evidence should be clear. You shouldn't have the slightest doubt. But more often than not, you are not able to identify somebody. Is it this person or is it this person? Well, I'm just hoping that the documentary is so clear to everybody. And that, like my Commissioner General said, if indeed it is our personnel, obviously the law will take its route. These are my little contribution to.
So that's Brigadier General Ziblim Ayorogo there. And it looks like the Ningo Prampram MP.
Yes, Sam George actually raised that question, and then he probed further to know within the medium and long term, what is the customs going to do about that? And he said they have already initiated some steps to deploy some software to monitor all the borders around the country in collaboration with other neighboring countries, which is actually done with the JICA, the Japan Development here in Ghana, and that has already started, and by September the rollout should begin.
Indeed, we have been assisted by the Japanese International Cooperation Agency. So what are we going to get out of this system? Now, when you have geospatial intelligence collection method or approach, what it means is that you have some level of border protection. You are able to identify hotspot of smuggling. You are able to have the route of smugglers. It gives you inter-agency cooperation in terms of intelligence. Indeed, this system is coming in place in September, God willing. It is not only for Ghana, Nigeria, Niger, and Togo, and Cote d'Ivoire. The training is going to be given to us, and this training is likely to end 2026, God willing. Now, normally when you have lack of manpower, you have to use this system of geospatial intelligence. And the Japanese government is actually very willing to assist us in this direction. That is one approach, because now we have to apply science. We do not have the personnel. This science will reveal the position of the activities of our own and others, and that is likely to give us a lot of revenue. Another issue has to do with even the marine unit. The waters that we have, all the water bodies that we have, we used to have a marine unit. But the marine unit, with all due respect, is no more. And we are now trying to re-establish. All the water bodies are empty. We have other units like the Navy, but that's not their primary responsibility. The primary responsibility of smuggling or moving on board the waters in terms of revenue is Ghana Revenue Authority.
Avaji, stay with me, because this issue, there are more issues that came up regarding this particular documentary. But we've been hearing from the Executive Secretary of the Ghana Integrity Initiative, Mary Ada. She says the terms of reference of the investigations must be made public to ensure fairness.
I believe they would also want to say that sometimes our evidence is not conclusive enough. However, in this case, we are very sure beyond reasonable doubt that the evidence of the little that was captured, and I believe they know that this is just the tip of the iceberg. And so the way they deal with this would be a direction on an indicator of what civil society and the media can do in the future with them to ensure that we are fighting corruption together.
But in this particular investigation, are there certain parameters that they should follow to ensure that they get to the bottom of the matter?
I've already told you that, or I indicated that earlier, that one of the things we would need to see is constant feedback on the issue.
Okay.
So that is one. But then again, the terms of reference of the committee that would be set up to investigate.
Well, so that's Mary Ada there speaking on the Pulse on the Joy News channel. But Evans, this morning when we played the documentary on the Super Morning Show, we engaged Guta. And guess what? They described these customs officials who take these monies from them as angels. Here's why.
That is so extorsively high, that business very unbearable, and that is the only problem. You know, sometimes the custom officer that we say they are taking bribe, the word bribe is not bribe for the trader. It's a favor that the custom officer has given us because we were eventually able to even clear our goods. Without that, we couldn't even have cleared. And I'm saying this bluntly because we need solution, because we need taxes to be affordable. The precious that goes to the poor customs officer because of our inability to pay our taxes. Make the customs officer who obliged to take something so that we're able to take our goods out, make him an angel for us. And this is true. So the whole system has to be overhauled. We have to create a conducive system that the customs officer can work with integrity, that the clearing agent can do same, and then the trader can also do same without even pointing fingers on any one of us. Because even those people who are telling us to pay the legitimate taxes and all that on their duties and all that, when they are clearing their goods, they face the same thing and they use the same clearing agents. Tell me if what I'm saying is not true.
Well, so the issue about the taxes, high taxes, came up at the Public Accounts Committee. Well, they raised the issues that Guta raised. They put it to the GRA boss. What was her response?
Yes, I put that to Madam Julie Esiam, and she said they are planning to review all of these taxes, but she wasn't clear whether it will lead to any reduction of any particular tax or not.
We can't say that people are smuggling because taxes, etc. They're loopholes. They're loopholes that we need to block. You were just here when Commissioner was speaking to a geospatial intelligence that we're going to use to ensure that we embark on the journey of ensuring we don't have porous borders. So we can't attribute all of this to high taxation. We've also said that we're going to review taxes, all the taxes, to consolidate taxes. I didn't say to reduce, but to consolidate taxes. That review has to be carefully done, and so we will embark on that journey. I'm not able to say that that is for this year, that is for 2025, but whatever review we do, we are implementers, has to be backed by policy and therefore go to our mother ministry to have that conversation. So even if that happens this year, in terms of the review, its implementation will be 2020.
Will it lead to any decrease?
I'm not able to say because we're going to do a review. So I can't, because the review has not been done, I can't stand here and say that it's going to be.
Two of them that are in question are the e-levy as well as the COVID-19 tax. Those two taxes, what is the GRA's position on that?
We're going to review, like I said, we're going to review all the legislations to see how we can consolidate if possible. So it's a review. And when you put a review on the table and you're not done with the review, you're not in any way, it will be irresponsible of me to stand here and say that it's going to reduce taxes, it's going to take this away, it's going to take that away. No, it's a review.
That's the GRA Commissioner, Juliet Esiam there, speaking to my colleague, James Aveji. And what a time to bring in George Wiafi when we are talking about taxes and revenue. He's here. What's up?
An interesting interview there that James Aveji, not the chair of the Public Accounts Committee,
the reporter,
Esiam, the Commissioner General of the Ghana Revenue Authority.
Now we have to clarify. There's one with Kluche in the middle.
Oh, okay.
So that's James Kluche Aveji.
And this is Kwesi.
And this is Kwesi.
James Kwesi Aveji.
Yeah. Okay.
Kluche is a chair.
Okay.
And you know, there are times
Kwesi is
our colleague.
The reporter.
You know, there are times we want to call James when he's on the ground, and then you end up calling the MP. You're like, James, where are you?
And the interesting thing is that he also often reports from the Public Accounts Committee, right?
And he does a good job with that.
Well, Evans, coming up on business, the total value of mobile money transactions crossed 1 trillion cedis the first half of this year, representing a significant surge for what was posted for the same period last year. And finance lecturer Dr. Benjamin Amoah fears spike in non-performing loans would affect fresh credit extension and cost for businesses. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationers, Interstanks, and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
Of the register. Attention Ghana! The Electoral Commission will from Tuesday 20th August to Tuesday 27th August 2024 display the voters register across all polling stations throughout the country between the hours of 7 a.m. and 6 p.m. each day. This is your chance to verify your personal details, confirm your polling station, ensure no unqualified persons are on the register, and remove names of deceased individuals by providing death certificates, burial permits, and obituary notices. taxes. As proof of death, registered voters must appear in person with their ID card or registration slips. You can also check your details by dialing *711*51#. Objections to names on the register can be made on the grounds that the person is a minor, foreigner, not of a sound mind, impersonating another person, or not residing in the area where he or she registered. Applicants have the opportunity to object to the inclusion of their names on the exception or multiple registration lists. Remember, the exhibition of the voters register will start from Tuesday 20th August to Tuesday 27th August 2024. The register will be displayed at all polling stations across the country from 7 a.m. to 6 p.m. each day. Your vote is your future.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kindle Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first point of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Osu Akwaje, or our office near the Osu Stadium. We're also in Tema Community 1, opposite Olam SHS, Kumasi KNUST campus, UCC Cape Coast, and now at the Marina Mall, Airport City. Or call us 0302 764101, 764209, or 762792. Visit our website www.kingdomgh.com.
Hey, so as for you, every day you are just pressing your phone. Why? Are they paying you?
They are, Oma.
Eh?
The more I use my MTN, the more points I get. And I can use those points to get airtime, data, and even discounts at shops and restaurants.
Hey, so that is why all of you are always pressing your phones. And you won't tell us, so that we too we can enjoy some.
Oh, ma.
There's always more to enjoy with MTN Rewards. Just keep talking, testing, and browsing all day, every day to collect your points and use it to redeem amazing offers and discounted freebies right away. There's so much available for you. So dial *550# and get your reward today. Let's go. Everywhere you go.
Kweku, have you heard what they are doing on MTN?
Choboy! Yeah. We have a new leader in town. Obiarenti. Amafo. Madam was Sibebre. When him say my baby, maybe more charcoal for whiter teeth. More charcoal. Not only that, maybe lemon. More lemon. Zinc for fresher breath. More zinc. And fluoride for stronger teeth.
Introducing the new President Charcoal Pack with more power with a combination of charcoal and lemon for naturally whiter teeth. Grab yours now. This advert is FDA approved.
The luckiest
*712#.
Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah.
Welcome and now for a dial *712# and found no regrets. A side comma investors are a striking gold. A comma health workers are a diagnosing luck with precision. A side comma that tough guy who couldn't hold back his tears. Say a comma passionate fan or also entering containing a joy. Afraid to the stressor or turning a hard-earned stitches into a bundle of happiness. And now a comma if you say your next big win is right here.
Dial *712# and join the luckiest winning celebration. From the 1st of July 2024, dial *712# to keep buying tickets as a group, individual, or even as a community. Win loads of cash and prizes in the community draw or go for the grand draw on the 30th of November 2024. Unlock your luck with *712#. Join the winning streak now.
The luckiest
*712#.
Luck is everywhere for everyone, yeah. The luckiest.
You're welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, total value of mobile money transactions witnessed some significant jump ending June this year. The Bank of Ghana data puts the amount at 1.2 trillion Ghana cedis. There is more in this report.
The Bank of Ghana data showed that total value of mobile transactions for the first 6 months of this year stood at 1.2 trillion Ghana cedis, compared to almost 900 million Ghana cedis ending June last year. It is not clear for now what might have influenced this surge, but some industry watchers are linking it to more firms and individuals opting for the platforms as a medium of payment. The Bank of Ghana data also showed that active mobile money account ending June stood at 24.4 million Ghana cedis. On the other hand, total number of active mobile money agents was pegged at 848,000.
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School, Dr. Benjamin Amoah, is worried that credit extension to businesses could suffer in the coming months. It follows fresh Bank of Ghana data, which shows the loans that banks fear will not be paid back on time have reached record levels ending June this year. Dr. Amoah says that the development is not good for businesses.
So definitely banks will be more concerned in terms of how much they give out, in terms of who will qualify for the loan, because they have to be more stringent. And banks will also be demanding more collateral to support the lending proposition, because the risk that we are seeing is not something that the banks would like to be assuming. If the banks keep on assuming this level of risk, it is affecting their profit, it is affecting their capital, and it's affecting the shareholders, because at each point in time, these loan losses or non-performing loans are recorded as losses. That means that shareholders are suffering, and they will have to come and top up their capital. So clearly, the banks will be incentivized to put in place more stringent loan extension regime. And it is very possible that if the trend is not reversed, genuine businesses that are seeking for loans will have to contract the loan at high rates, because they may be deemed to be part of that pool that will not be able to service.
Dr. Benjamin Amoah is a finance lecturer at the University of Ghana Business School. Now, former Minister of Finance, Tepe, says the mid-year budget review failed to give true state of the economy and outlook. Now, the Minister of Finance, Dr. Mohamed Adam, finally presented the mid-year budget review, insisting and demonstrate that it is committed to prudent spending. But speaking in a viral engagement on the mid-year budget review, the former Minister of Finance, Tepe, says there's even more questions about what is put out there in terms of the numbers and the outlook.
2017, when attention was being drawn by myself and others, who have some knowledge of the fiscal, that I was pushing things in as memoranda, especially the what we have now come to know as the bailout costs in the energy sector, debt and arrears, which were being pushed. Made us think that we're doing well from 2017 to 2019, and then the IMF, came up with Article 4, 2019, to correct the government figure.
Former Minister of Finance, Seth Tekwe. Now, the Association of Ghana Industries has expressed concerns about Bank of Ghana's decision to maintain the policy rate. The central bank kept the key lending rate at which it extends credit to commercial banks in the country at 29%. Chief Executive of the association, said Chuma Kabwa, tells their business reducing the rate would have been good for businesses in these challenging times.
As long as we haven't come down on the policy rate and we continue to keep it at this high level, then it's going to affect borrowing rate. There's no doubt about it. Even though there's that appetite for borrowing, the interest cost is a major factor that is prohibiting growth in lending.
So Chuma Kabwa is Chief Executive of the Association of Ghana Industries. But economist Dr. Duo Sakodia maintained that the decision to hold the policy rate was in the right direction. Says the action was influenced by current economic developments.
Last time they reduced it, we saw that inflation picked up to 25% or so. So just being careful on that. But let's stress this point that the fight against inflation should not be left in the hands of the central bank alone. The real sector players and the fiscal sector must also do their part. That's why we always preach policy coherence, that the fiscal policy should not be sitting somewhere, monetary policy should not be sitting somewhere. They should all come together, have a coherent policies so that we can fight against the monster.
And that is economist Dr. Edu Owusu Sarkodie. And that's all for business on Newsnight.
It's a first Thursday special treat at Achimota Retail Center every first Thursday of the month. Let's take your first Thursday of the month to a whole new level. Join us, get fit with ALC in August, bingo or quiz night in September, karaoke in October, fashion events in November, and open air jam with DJs and hype men in December. It's going to be an amazing experience you won't want to miss. You will also get to enjoy discounts on pizza from Pizza Inn, buy one, get one free. Come and enjoy an unforgettable time with us every first Thursday at ALC at Shimota Retail Center, and your vibes sing wow.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me da with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Ghana Kron Kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
The era of playing small is officially over. It's time to scale up and evolve. It's time to connect with opportunities that unlock bigger possibilities. Whether you're a startup with a big idea or a company ready to shake things up, Telecel is your partner. This is a world where partnerships thrive, visions become reality, and goals are achieved. We turn sparks into flames, dreams into realities, because when energies connect, incredible things happen. Transform your business ideas into success stories with Telecel Business. Choose from a wide range of products and services tailor-made to drive your business. Call 0302 334040 or email business@telecel.com.gh to sign up today. Telecel Business, connecting opportunities, connecting goals, connecting businesses.
Telecel, connecting energies.
You're so live, your news night. It's on Joy 99.7 FM. We can do sports now, and Ms. Bowers here with the latest.
Yeah, Evans. Well, let's start with the Ghana Premier League because the fixtures for next season has been revealed by the Ghana Football Association, and its champions, FC Summertex, they will open their defense of the title with an away tie at Dreams FC. Then Heart of Folk will host newly promoted Baseke Holy Stars in their opening Premier League match, and Kotoko will travel to Kerala United. Well, the match day one will continue with Mediama hosting last season's second place team, Accra Lions. Premier League New Boys Vision FC will host Brecum Chelsea. Sonchoman will play Young Apostles at home. But the big one is that the first leg of Ghana Super Clash between Asante Kotoko and Accra Heart of Folk will take place on March day 13 at the Barra Sports Stadium in December. So we'll keep tabs on that. Well, the General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association, Prosper Harisanado, has been emphasizing that they will uphold the integrity of the game in next season's Premier League.
The thing is that for every sport, the integrity of the game is far superior than any particular person of the game. So if FIFA can remove Sepp Blatter, who was the president of the game, to protect the integrity of football, then anybody in football can be removed. So if I have done something wrong, you can send a report against me, and I will be removed to protect the sanctity of the game. The game is far important than any single person or group of people. So let me repeat it. The GFA will not hesitate to remove any club, no matter your history, no matter your level, from the game to protect the game for the rest of the clubs.
Prosper Harisanado, General Secretary of the Ghana Football Association. Let me take you to the Olympic Games now, and it's Nigeria women's basketball team, and they pulled off a stunner in Paris, upsetting Australia 75-62 in a Group B contest earlier today. And the victory was not only a massive upset of an Australian women's national team ranked number 3 in the world headed into the Games, but also historic because it was the first in 20 years for Nigeria's women's basketball team. Now, Serbia's Novak Djokovic also overpowered Spain's Rafael Nadal with a straight-set win after an epic Olympic game showdown earlier today. The Serb now holds a 31-29 advantage in their 60 matchups. Djokovic is still looking for an elusive gold Olympic medal and will be hoping that he can get his hands on it in this competition. Well, Ghana will be in action tomorrow, and it's going to be the men's 100 meters freestyle heat. Harry Stacey, young boy, he will be participating in that swimming competition. It's going to be at 9:23 GMT, so you can make a date and watch that. So, yeah, that's tomorrow, Evans. Hopefully you can make time. You like swimming? You like swimming?
Oh,
events,
yeah, I love swimming.
Like
Indeed, I love swimming. MFA knows that. I was going to say how I swim, but I keep it to myself.
Yeah,
I love swimming.
Well, let me just give you an update on the medal. The medal table so far. Japan are leading the medal table. They've got 12 medals, 6 gold, 2 silver, 4 bronze. China in second place. They've got 5 gold medals, 2 silver and 2 bronze, 10 in total. South Korea, the Asian countries are doing well. First 3 they're there. South Korea got 9. France got 14, 4 gold medals, 7 silver medals and 3 bronze. Australia in 5th place, 7 medals in total, 4 gold, 2 silver, 3 silver, and that's it. Well, USA is not in the top 5 so far. We'll see, maybe they'll climb up the medal table. That's it for sports events.
Thank you very, very much. Now, the distant spring at the base of the Mampong Scarps in the Ashanti region has served the Ningting and Shidiem communities for a very long time. Now, before the first light of dawn each morning, the pupils of Shidiem MA and Ningting RC basic schools embark on a rather difficult journey, trekking for miles, battling weariness and sacrificing precious sleep, all to access the ground for water. Clinton Yeboah spent a day gauging the dire water crisis and the implications on residents in today's Thirsty Communities series.
Waking at dawn, basic school pupils of Shidiem MA Basic School begin their day hours before most of their peers. At 4 a.m., they begin a vigorous exercise not to steady, but to scoop water from a distant spring at the base of the Mampong Scarp, while the far-reaching access to water repels teachers from staying in the Shidiem community. Head teacher of Shidiem MA Basic School, Ajiman Kwame, narrates how the tiredness impacts students who were
that they come to school already tired because they didn't have enough rest, so teaching and learning affects the assimilation, or they decide not to come at all. Teachers in this school do not live in this community.
Flowing quietly through a natural exit point, the groundwater beneath the scarps at Shidiem emerges from the aquifer, flowing onto the top to become surface water. Kwame Inti was seen washing from the same spot of the running water. He says the journey to the place is too far, and like many others, he cannot fetch and wash at home at a vigorous context in queues to get water. Neighboring communities also join us, so our numbers are huge, mostly in the morning. Sometimes you have to fight your way through. The situation gets similarly dire at the adjoining community, Ningting. The Ningting water source seems to be oozing from the ground into a naturally created platform where school kids scoop with their cup. We are always late for school and we miss class test. This is why we are here at this time. It is also important to note that the Kufor gallon is one of the valuable assets in households of Ningting, because without it, you have no container to save water for the next day. For those seeking cleaner, pipe-borne water, the infamous yellow container Kufor gallon has become the only option, with a gallon costing 2 cedis. Each household need about 30 gallons per week to survive, significantly straining their finances. The assembly member of the Ningting electoral area, Nicholas Oseiusu, is calling for urgent assistance. He disclosed that engineers have identified suitable sites for drilling pipe-borne water, which would alleviate the crisis.
It's giving room for open defecation, even though it's a basic necessity, and we are in dire need of it, sustainable potable water. But government is unable to provide as we wish. Now we have employed some people from KNUST who have helped us to locate exactly where we can get water whenever we dig. Help us. We are going to take you directly to where you can sink and get enough water that can sustainably help us.
It was so adventurous coming to Shidiem and Ningting electoral area in the Mampong municipality, but all the adventure has been about the dire crisis of water. Lives are at risk, so is the future of many young people. Reporting for Joy News, my name is Clinton Yeboah.
And that's the situation from what did you say? Mention the towns again.
Ninting and Shidium.
Shidium. Oh, that's nice. You've done well. Well, that's our Festy Community Series. It's also available on our social media platforms. Let's head to Parliament now. And they've taken a 2-hour break. And the Speaker of Parliament today, Alban Bagbing, has apologized to the general public over the botched regulation that sought to allow MPs, ministers and judges drive without speed limit and install sirens. You know that controversy around that LI, which was subsequently withdrawn following that intense public backlash.
Well, in a formal statement to MPs on Monday, Alban Bagbing called for reflection on the processes for subsidiary legislations to become law and assured that stringent measures are now in place to ensure such regulations do not become law.
Including ministers of state, members of parliament, and justices of the superior courts of judicature, the privilege of using sirens on our roads and exemption from speed limits. Honorable members from Western Region, this provision has been perceived by many as a means for the political class to evade the very traffic challenges that affect the general public, leading to widespread public outcry and intense debate on social media platforms. In light of these developments, and following the opposition's firm stance against the legislative instrument, the government has decided to withdraw the proposed amendments. Today, I wish to address the very key issues arising from this situation, provide clarity on the legislative process, and engage in a constructive dialogue about the future of subsidiary legislation in our beloved country. We recognize the public's perception of insensitivity, and I'm here to offer an apology and assure the Ghanaian people that this Parliament remains acutely aware of and responsive to their needs.
That's the Speaker, Alban Bagbing. I don't know if you accept that apology, but you can reach us on our WhatsApp platforms. Let's get into the election headquarters now.
And election headquarters is always brought to you by Petrosol, clean fuel in full quantity, the Chartered Institute of Management Accountants, and AICPA together as Association of International Certified Professional Accountants. Chopbox Technologies, a convenient service. Youth Bridge Foundation, bridging the gap for positive youth development.
And this evening, the United Nations in Ghana is urging all stakeholders in the upcoming general elections to work towards ensuring peace before, during and after the December polls. In less than 200 days, eligible citizens will be choosing parliamentary representatives and the president to run the affairs of the country for the next 4 years. Ahead of the exercise, a special representative to the United Nations Secretary General is in the country to engage stakeholders. There's more in the following report.
The race for Ghana's presidential and parliamentary elections is heating up. And as political parties crisscross the nation canvassing for votes, stakeholders are equally concerned about ensuring peace before, during and after the elections. Already the United Nations Secretary General is deploying Leonardo Santos, a special representative in West Africa, to engage stakeholders ahead of this crucial exercise in Ghana.
But sometimes because of the competition involved, some behaviors may put peace in danger, and we don't want this to happen. So prevention of violence, prevention of risky factor is part important of all this process.
The United Nations Resident Coordinator in Ghana, Charles Abani, tells Joy News the democracy of Ghana is important to the entire West Africa sub-region.
Ghana's democracy is extremely important, not just for Ghanaians, but for the sub-region and the continent as a whole, as we experience buffers of unconstitutional change. So it's extremely important for us that the elections are peaceful, that the elections are inclusive, which means that everybody gets the right to exercise their vote here, that it is, as much as is possible, devoid of misinformation, disinformation, and certainly devoid of hate speech. And tomorrow in Kumasi, there will be a stakeholders peace forum, which the special representative of the Secretary General for UNOAS will be attending as part of our efforts. There will be 5 of them. One was held last week in Tamale, tomorrow another one in Kumasi, and then there will be another 3 all the way down to Cape Coast and to Ho, to ensure that we cover the whole country. Obviously, Ghana's national interest is paramount. And so I think we're calling on all parties to not see this as a do-or-die affair, but to see it as really an important event or sequence of processes in Ghana's journey towards becoming a developed nation that is self-reliant and confident and taking its place on the global stage. And that if this remains the imperative, then I think everybody will act in the best interest of what is good for Ghana. And the continent of Africa will benefit as well.
Although the United Nations says it will not be deploying a standalone observer mission to monitor Ghana's elections, it stands ready to avail its skills to backing a peaceful organization of this year's elections. Blessed Sugan's report for Joy News, Accra.
And you're still live here on News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM. A few of your messages on our WhatsApp console now. And this one from Philip Indicator says, custom officials behave as if they are not Ghanaian. This criminality will stop if NDC-VCC comes to power, he says. And also on the same subject, Righteous from Cater says the current government, they have done better in terms of developmental projects, but care must be taken to observe financial discipline in accordance to avoid, so they can avoid overspending during the general elections. So the biggest corruption institutions in Ghana are the custom, immigration, and the police services. And that's his opinion there. And still on the subject of politics, but also on Kuku Kwatin's piece, and this is from Comrade Issa in Boku, says Kuku Kwatin's recent expose has shed light on the alarming state of government mismanagement, echoing concerns previously raised by other MPP members. Key issues include a blatant disregard for procurement rules, rampant corruption, economic mismanagement akin to a Ponzi scheme. Similar warnings have been sounded by MPP gurus, including Ken Ejipon and Honorable Akuto Osei, among others. A few of your thoughts there on that subject. And the final one from David McLean says, I think the MPP need to do the needful, and if they don't, pride will send them to opposition. Thank you very much for sharing your thoughts with us on the key issues that we've been treating here on the News Night. And Jeffrey says, Mr. Kwatin is correct, but he must, and the MPP must, own up to their woeful and abysmal performance. As for Haruna trying hard to isolate the government from the issue, and then he shared with us his 3 emojis, just rolling his eyes on what he had Haruna.
Ali, you're current, though. I didn't know you know emojis like that. You speak emoji.
Look at you. Look at you. Yes, I'm current indeed.
Yeah. Let's wrap up tonight. There's more when you log on to myjoyonline.com. Looking forward to that exclusive interview between Evan Spencer and Kweku Kwati on PM Express at 9 p.m. And before then, we'll bring you Porous Borders, the full documentary, also on the Joy News channel, put together by our colleague Kweti Nati. You can miss it. I am MF Apau.
Hi, my name is Evan Spencer.